Picture this for a second. You're standing on a wide teak terrace. The air is warm and it smells, faintly of salt and frangipani.
Hmm.
Right in front of you, the Andaman Sea is just shimmering in that perfect, impossible shade of turquoise. You take a sip of something cold, you look around and you realize, I did it. I bought the dream villa in Phuket.
It's a compelling image, isn't it? That's the screensaver we all want to live inside.
Absolutely, paradise.
But, and I really hate to be the one to pull the emergency brake right at the start here. Let's look at the alternate ending to that script. The director's cut that nobody talks about.
The one where the dream turns into a financial horror movie.
Exactly. You're standing on that same terrace. The view is the same. But instead of the waves, you're listening to a lawyer on the phone, and they're explaining that the person who sold you this villa, well, they didn't actually have the title to the land.
Oh, no.
Or maybe the local municipality has just issued a demolition order for your swimming pool because it breaches some zoning law you didn't even know existed.
Ouch. That is the definition of a buzzkill. But that is exactly the scenario we're here to prevent today.
Right.
We're doing a deep dive into the specific, unglamorous, but absolutely vital reality of buying property in Phuket. We're moving past the glossy brochures and getting right into the legal weeds of how you protect your capital.
Precisely. This isn't about scaring you away from the market. Phuket is a fantastic place to invest or retire. This is about risk mitigation. It's about the difference between being a passive buyer who's just hoping for the best and an informed investor who knows exactly what they own.
And to guide us through this legal minefield, we're leaning very heavily on a specific high-authority source today. We're unpacking a guide called Verify Before You Buy, Phuket Property Document Checklist.
And the context here is everything. I mean, this isn't advice from some travel blogger who spent 2 weeks in a hostel.
Right.
This comes from Ocean Worldwide. They're a luxury real estate agency that's been operating on the ground in Phuket since 2004.
2004.
Yeah.
So they've seen the market pre-tsunami, post-tsunami, through political shifts, global recessions. I mean, everything the last 2 decades has thrown at the region.
Exactly. They have survived and thrived through all of it. And specifically, we're drawing on the methodology of Sandra O'Neill, the director of the agency. She's shepherded thousands of families and investors through this process.
Wow.
So when a source like that says, you need to check this specific document in this specific way, it just carries a lot of weight. It's battle-tested advice.
The source actually uses a great analogy right off the bat, which I love. They say buying a property without this kind of due diligence is like baking a cake without checking the ingredients.
It's a simple comparison, but it's so accurate, you don't want to realize the milk is expired after the batter's already in the oven.
Of course not.
In real estate terms, you don't want to realize the title deed is forged after you've transferred $100,000. Once the cake is in the oven or the money is sent, it's very, very hard to fix the taste.
So let's look at the ingredients. If the property is the cake, what's the flour? What's the absolute foundational document we need to start with?
That would have to be the title deed. In Thailand, you'll hear a lot of terms thrown around, but the gold standard, the one you want, is the Shanote.
The Shanote, okay, let's clarify that. Why is this specific title so important compared to, say, other ones?
Well, think of the Shanote as the property's birth certificate and passport all rolled into one. It's the official government document that grants full, absolute ownership rights to the land. It comes with a GPS-plotted survey of the boundaries. It's precise.
Okay.
Now, you might see other titles like the Norsor 3 Gore.
And that's different.
Oh, significantly different. A Norsor 3 Gore basically offers possessory rights. It says you have the legal right to be there and use the land, and the boundaries are, roughly defined, but it is not the same level of absolute ownership as a Shanote.
So if you're putting down serious money.
You really want the security of a Shanote. It's just the strongest title available.
So, rule number 1, demand to see the Shanote.
And I'll go a step further. You don't just want to see a photocopy or a PDF sent over email.
I need the original.
You have to see the original document. And this leads directly to the first major place people mess up: identity verification.
It sounds almost too basic to mention. Checking that the seller is who they say they are. Do people actually skip this?
You would be amazed. I mean, scammers rely on the momentum of a deal. They rely on social pressure. You're sitting in a nice office, the AC is on, coffee is served, everyone's smiling.
It feels rude.
It feels rude to ask, can I please inspect your passport? But you have to.
So you're literally matching the face in front of you to the name on the Shanote.
Correct. If the seller is a Thai national, you check their national ID card. If they're a foreigner, you check their passport. You're just verifying that they have the legal standing to sell this asset.
And people have tried to sell property they don't own.
Oh, absolutely. Family members might try to sell land owned by a sibling or a parent without the proper legal power of attorney. They might have the deed, but they aren't the legal owner. And if you pay the wrong person, getting that money back is, well, it's a nightmare.
It's that milk expiry date analogy again. Takes 5 seconds to check, but if you don't, the result is disastrous.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got the deed, and we've verified the seller's face matches the name. Are we good to go?
Not even close. Looking at the paper in a coffee shop tells you what the seller wants you to see. Now, you have to verify what the government knows.
You have to go to the land office.
Yes. And the source material stresses this heavily. It paints a picture of a process that is, well, it's decidedly analog.
Very old school.
Yeah, we're not talking about logging into some sleek digital portal from your laptop in London. The land office in Thailand runs on physical paper. The file for a specific plot of land is like its diary. It has the history of every single thing that's ever happened to that piece of dirt, divisions, sales, transfers.
And this file, it just lives at the office.
It cannot leave the building. It's not in the cloud. It's in a cabinet. So you, or more realistically your lawyer, you need to go there, sit down, and open this dusty folder.
What are we actually looking for in there?
You're flipping the title deed over. And this is a really crucial detail about Thai property law. The back of the shenote acts as the property's CV, its resume. Every legal transaction is stamped and signed right there on the back.
So if a seller tells me, I bought this from my brother last year, but there's no stamp on the back of that deed,
Then, legally, it pretty much never happened. If a transaction isn't registered on the back of the title deed at the land office, it's generally not considered valid against third parties. You're looking for a continuous, unbroken chain of ownership.
gaps, no mystery years.
Exactly. You want the CV to make sense.
That is a high-value insight. Always check the back of the deed. Now, let's say the ownership chain is clean. Is the property safe? Or are there other hidden ingredients that could spoil the cake?
We call these encumbrances. Think of them as legal baggage. These are claims or restrictions that stick to the land no matter who owns it. You could buy the land, but the baggage stays.
What kind of baggage are we talking about?
The most common are mortgages and liens. A mortgage means the land is collateral for a loan. So if the seller hasn't paid the bank has a claim on your new house. A lien could be for unpaid debts, maybe taxes, or maybe they didn't pay the contractor who bricked the wall.
So if I don't check, I could theoretically be buying someone else's debt.
Potentially, yes. Or, what's more likely, the transfer will just be blocked at the last second because the bank won't release the title until they get their money. Your due diligence must confirm the property is free and clear before you transfer a single bat.
The Ocean Worldwide Guide also mentioned leasehold checks. This feels critical because a lot of our listeners might be foreigners, and the property laws for them in Thailand are pretty unique.
It's a massive topic. Often, foreigners are not buying the land outright, they are buying a leasehold interest. You're buying the right to live there for a set period, usually 30 years.
And there's a specific registration rule here that seems to catch people out.
Yes, this is so important. In Thailand, any lease longer than 3 years must be registered at the land office.
Stamped on the back of the deed.
Stamped on the back of that deed we just talked about.
Wait, so if I sign a 30-year lease contract with a landlord, we shake hands, we sign the paper, but we don't go to the land office.
Then, under Thai law, you generally only have an enforceable rental for 3 years. The other 27 years of that contract could be worth nothing if the landlord changes their mind or dies or sells the land to someone else.
That is terrifying. An unregistered lease is basically an unprotected lease after that 3-year mark?
Exactly. You have to verify the remaining duration, the renewal terms, and make sure it is officially stamped. You need the government to know that you're the tenant.
Okay, moving down the checklist. There was a term that sounded like something from, I don't know, feudal Europe, usufructs. What is a usufruct?
It does sound medieval, doesn't it? A usufruct is the legal right to use and enjoy the fruits or the benefits of someone else's property.
Give me a real-world example of how this could bite a buyer.
Okay, so let's say a previous owner wanted to make sure their elderly mother had a place to live. They could register a usufruct, granting her the right to live in the house for her lifetime.
And if that's on the deed,
And you buy the house, you cannot kick her out. You own the house, but she has the legal right to live there until she passes away.
so I could buy a villa and find out I have a permanent roommate.
Theoretically, yes. Or you might find servitudes, which are rights of way. Maybe the land behind you has no road access, and a registered servitude grants them the right to drive a truck through your driveway every day to get to their farm.
Wow.
You need to know these things before you buy, not when the truck pulls up.
This leads us right into the broader complexity of foreign ownership. We touched on leasehold, but let's break down the rules. Can I, as a foreigner, just fly to Phuket and buy a plot of land in my name?
The short answer is generally no. Thai law is very protective of land ownership. So foreigners generally cannot own land outright in their own name.
But there's a big exception.
A major exception, condominiums.
The condo exception, how does that work?
Foreigners can own condominiums freehold, which means you own the unit outright forever, just like a Thai national. You get a title deed for your specific unit, but there's a catch, and it's known as the 49% rule.
This is about quotas, right?
Correct. In any single condo building, the total floor area owned by foreigners cannot exceed 49%. The other 51% must be owned by Thai nationals.
So my due diligence isn't just about my unit, it's about the math of the whole building.
Exactly. If that foreign quota is full, you cannot buy freehold. You'd have to buy it as leasehold. And trust me, the resale value and the legal standing of a freehold condo versus a leasehold one are very different.
So you have to check their space in the quota.
Before you commit to anything.
Now what about villas? I've seen foreigners owning villas. How does that work if they can't own the land?
This is where it gets nuanced. Often a foreigner will own the structure, the bricks, the mortar, the roof, the pool, but they will lease the land underneath it.
Owning the house but renting the dirt.
It's a very common legal structure, but your due diligence has to be, double-barreled here. You have to verify the seller can sell the structure and that the land lease is valid and transferable.
You don't want to own a beautiful house.
And then have the landowner decide not to renew the lease and tell you to move your house.
Right. Not exactly something you can do with a suitcase. Okay, we've covered the documents and the laws, but Ocean Worldwide makes a point that vetting the people is just as important.
It's the human element. We get so focused on the asset, the pretty building, that we forget we're doing business with a person or a company. If you're buying off-plan...
A property that hasn't been built yet.
Right. You're essentially investing in a developer, not a house. You're betting on their ability to deliver on a promise.
So you need to act like a detective.
Totally. What's their track record? Have they actually finished their previous projects? Go look at them. Talk to the owners living there. Are the pools leaking? Did they finish on time? Or are there half-finished concrete skeletons somewhere else on the island with their name on it?
And the source mentions checking licenses with the Ministry of Interior.
Yes, you want to see that they have the actual permits to develop the land and sell it. A halted construction site is the biggest red flag there is. If a developer runs out of money or gets shut down, your deposit could be stuck in legal limbo for years.
What if it's a resale? Buying from just a regular person?
Then you're looking at the seller's financial health. Why are they selling? If they're desperate because they're facing bankruptcy or a big lawsuit, that is dangerous territory for you.
I would have thought that gives me leverage for a lower price. A distressed seller.
It might, but it carries a huge hidden risk. If they're in the middle of bankruptcy proceedings, the court might have frozen their assets. You could sign the contract, send your deposit, and then find out the land office refuses the transfer because a judge has blocked the seller from moving any assets.
So you're checking court records.
Your lawyer should be checking for civil and criminal cases. You want to make sure the seller has the clear, unencumbered capacity to sell. You do not want to get dragged into someone else's legal drama.
That is great advice. Let's move from the office to the actual site. The source says, seeing is believing. But this isn't just about admiring the view, is it?
No. Photos are incredibly forgiving. They don't show damp patches. They don't smell like mold. They don't show that the AC units are rusted out. You need a physical inspection.
What are some of the non-obvious things we should be looking for?
Look at the environment. You might see a stunning sea view today, but look at the land directly in front of you. Is it an empty green plot? Who owns it? Could a 5-story hotel go up there next year and turn your sea view into a concrete wall view?
That would destroy the value of the property overnight.
It happens. Also, check the orientation. In a tropical climate like Phuket, the sun is not always your friend. If your main living area faces west with no shade, your house will turn into a sauna every single afternoon. Your energy bills will be astronomical.
That's a really practical tip. What about common areas in, say, a resort or a condo?
This is a litmus test for management. Don't just look at your unit. Go look at the communal pool. Is the water clear? Are tiles cracked? Go to the gym. Is the equipment broken? If the common areas are neglected, it's a huge sign the management committee is dysfunctional or they're running out of money.
Which means your maintenance fees aren't being used properly.
Exactly. Buying into a badly managed building is just a slow leak on your investment. A green pool is a red flag.
Okay, let's talk about the dreaded paperwork, the contracts. Ocean Worldwide outlines a few specific agreements we need to understand.
The process usually starts with a reservation agreement. This is the I'm serious document. You pay a deposit to take the property off the market.
What's the trap here?
The trap is refundability. You have to make sure that if your lawyer finds a problem with the title deed later, during all that due diligence we just discussed, that you get that deposit back.
It needs to be explicit, subject to clear title.
Yes. Do not hand over money without that clause. Then comes the sale and purchase agreement, the SPA. This is the big one. It covers everything. This is not a DIY document. You need a lawyer to go through it.
There's one specific acronym in the source that seems critical for our foreign listeners about money transfers. The FET form.
The foreign exchange transaction form. This is absolutely non-negotiable for foreigners buying freehold condos. The Thai Land Department requires proof that the funds you used to buy the condo came from outside Thailand in foreign currency.
So I can't just bring a suitcase of cash or use money I made working in Bangkok.
Generally, no. If you cannot produce that SET form from the receiving bank, the land office will simply refuse to transfer the title into your name. It doesn't matter if you've paid the seller, the government won't register you.
So the advice is, keep a paper trail.
Meticulous records. All bank transfers have to be documented. Don't use cash. You need that paper trail to get the deed.
We're in the home stretch here. The last hurdles are taxes and zoning.
Taxes are straightforward but essential. Your lawyer needs to check with the local district office for any outstanding property taxes. If the seller hasn't paid their taxes for 5 years, you don't want to inherit that liability.
And zoning. The source mentions a specific example about a place called Yamu.
Yeah, referring to Cape Yamu. Zoning is critical. You have to visit the municipal office, the Thesaban. You have to verify that the building, and especially any additions, actually has a construction permit.
Because people just build extensions without asking.
All the time. They add a pool, a boundary wall, a second story. If those structures don't have a permit, or if they violate zoning laws, like being too close to the ocean, the authorities can issue a demolition order.
Imagine buying a villa specifically for its infinity pool, and then being ordered to fill it in with concrete because it was 5 meters too close to the beach.
It's a nightmare scenario, but it highlights why this whole process is so important. You are just confirming that what you see is actually legal.
It really does. It raises the question, how much is your peace of mind worth? Because honestly, this whole list, checking needs, verifying IDs, going to the land office, checking bankruptcy courts, it sounds like a lot of work.
It is work. It's a hassle. It requires time and money. But compare that to the hassle of a legal battle in a foreign court system. Compare it to losing your entire investment. The cost of due diligence is a tiny fraction of the cost of a bad deal.
So what's the takeaway for everyone listening?
The takeaway is that buying property in Phuket is absolutely doable. It can be a wonderful lifestyle choice and a great investment, but it is not a casual transaction. It requires a detective mindset. You have to verify before you buy.
And you don't have to do it alone. I want to circle back to the source of all this wisdom. This deep dive was powered by the expertise of Ocean Worldwide, and specifically Sandra O'Neill.
When you're navigating a market like this, having a guide who has been there since 2004 is just invaluable. They know where the landmines are buried because they've seen people step on them. They know the history of the developers, the history of the land titles.
So if you want to dig deeper into these checklists, or maybe start your search with a team that actually checks the ingredients before baking the cake, you can find them at oceanwwp.com.
And remember, this is all about agency. When you do your due diligence, you aren't just crossing your fingers and hoping for the best. You're taking control of the transaction. You're ensuring your paradise stays a paradise.
I like that. Don't buy the dream until you've stress-tested the reality.
Exactly. And here's a final thought for you to mull over. We talked a lot about checking the past, the history of the deed, the developer's track record. But when you buy real estate, you're really buying the future.
How so?
Have you checked the city planning maps for the next 10 years? That quiet jungle road in front of your villa might be slated to become a 4-lane highway, or that empty field next door might be zoned for a high-rise. Due diligence isn't just about what happened yesterday, it's about what's approved to happen tomorrow.
That is a scary but brilliant thought to leave us with. Future-proofing your paradise. Thank you for that insight. And thank you to everyone for listening to this deep dive. Stay curious, stay diligent, and we'll catch you in the next one.